state tournaments.
Monday through Saturday.
They ended up winning the whole thing.
Nice.
Congratulations. First game.
You're coaching?
No, I promised myself I wouldn't coach.
You said you were starting a team.
I'm a manager. I met me and another deputy manager.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Get this, I manage all the finances, fundraisers, my name manages uniforms and other stuff.
You don't have any background in such thing.
Surprise.
But our first game Saturday, we lost 22-0. And then we won the second game, and then Sunday they stopped firing, and we won 15-4, and we came nothing, we championship.
No kidding. Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah, the only game my wife saw was the first one.
Yeah, Missy shows up to see the slaughter.
Oh, no.
And she said, "No, I can't take it."
That home run that Andrew hit, right?
Yeah.
She had me out working my fingers to the bone. What did I get? Bone.
Yeah, this week we go to
Rules with an iron fist.
That's right.
very south side of Parker. That's a long ways.
I was gonna say when my daughter played softball, I felt like we were always in your Roaring Sports Complex. I'm like, is there no other place to play?
That's how it was 2 years ago. So the team is
No, I know, but
played
they,
9 tournaments and I think
so just
I
one.
feel I find
let's
that
go somewhere else.
easier most of the time to have a face to face.
Yeah, I understand. And I agree with you, 100%, but not necessarily.
The reason it was cited in the email that I received was business commerce. Certainly did not relate to. There's some other things in the bylaws next door that, you know, if it was a habitual post, it would be probably out of the rules, but being the one and only time, pretty much squarely allowed in how I read it.
Yeah.
Censorship is right.
Doesn't line up with the personal agenda.
I'm waiting for Harold.
I certainly went out of my way to try to frame it in a
You're very good at that.
non-partisan view. Sort of trying
Glad I got to listen to the whole thing before I went bye-bye.
I didn't get to. I just had notification.
Oh, no.
Ready? I know, you're fine. All right, I call to order the meeting of July 2nd, 2019. Can I have a moment of silence for all those serving inside and outside our borders, please? All right, will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we have roll call, please, Mary?
Mayor Adrian Sandoval.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark.
Here.
Harold Leggett.
Present.
Nick Ralston. Spencer Bradnan.
Here.
Troy Blum.
Here.
Hope Morris.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Audience participation. I've asked all of you, but I'm gonna ask again. You want to stand up? All righty. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the June 4th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, the agreement for services, Drea's cleaning service 2019 renewal, the May financials, and the May paid bills.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action items, we will start with ordinance 781, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending section 7575 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding the private keeping of chickens and hens. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the board may recall, this last month we had a study session on code enforcement. Typically do that annually to address any concerns or questions or ideas from the community as well as our code officer. This is one of the topics that we discussed with the chicken ordinance that was established some years ago. The underlying issue of chicken ordinance is if a property has a fenced-in privacy fence fenced in, do they really need to meet that 15-foot setback from that property line if that fence on the property line? And after looking at the properties, work with Maria, it made sense since it's enclosed that way to excuse the setback if there's a privacy fence. If there's not, it's only need those setbacks for the chicken coop. And that's what this ordinance amendment is all about. I know a number of people that have chicken permits and they have a hard time. My wife wants me to get one, but I don't want to put it in my yard. They have privacy fence, so it's one of those things. It just depends on your property. But I thought it was reasonable, and we're making that recommendation tonight.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I think we discussed it in our study session pretty much.
I entertain a motion.
I make a move to approve ordinance 781, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending section 7-5-75 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding the private keeping of chicken hens as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to ordinance 782, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending section 16.3.120 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding storage and parking of recreational vehicles, boats, and trailers. Mr. Lincoln.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Mayor. This discussion of the study session is a little bit more involved, involving trailers and RVs basically. Since the ordinance came out in your packet, I put in a draft ordinance as an amendment on the table. This stems from meeting with the local gentleman the last couple of days that I've known for the last a number of years now. He came in Monday, made a point on the setback from the street curb or sidewalk of 10 feet. And that's the way I believe it's been worded for a while. But in reality, he said if you look at the town, that's going to impact over 80% of the current people that have such boats, trailers, and RVs. So I said, in all fairness, I'll take a look. And I did drive most of the town, the Rogers Stevens Street, Old Town. And he was right. There's a lot of impact. There's a lot of properties that look very nice. They have property parked, most trailers, ski-doos, everything else, on hard surfaces. But meaning that 10-foot setback will be very difficult. And some of those are parked up to the privacy fence and there's no more room. So after talking to him and looking at it, I thought it'd make more sense, and all the existing ones in town will comply if we did a 5-foot setback from the end of the street to the curb. And as long as the sidewalk's not blocked, the 5-foot would still allow that. And especially if people park a small boat or trailer in the driveway, there's no way they'll make a 10-foot setback from all these properties. So the language I want to change is currently the ordinance in the packet reads the recreational vehicle boat or trailer must be a minimum of 10 feet from any street, curb or sidewalk, and a minimum of 5 feet from any alley. My proposal on the amendment simply reads the recreational vehicle boat or trailer must be a minimum of 5 feet from any street, curb, or alley. Straightforward. I think that's fair to the community, people who currently own RVs, boats, and trailers, and I think it's very easy to enforce. It's not like we go out there with a ruler or yardstick and measure them, but because behind the sidewalk, we pretty much leave people alone, as long as it doesn't interfere with that. So, and on a hard surface. And that was the second point of this, is a hard surface needs to encompass the entire underneath of that trailer or RV, not just tires on pea gravel and the rest of the dirt needs. Not too many of those, but there's a few. But that's my summary of this for the board. Any questions you may have?
Didn't we talk about North 32.5, that neighborhood there, they're exempt of this?
Schultz,
Because, yeah.
Schultz The conversation was because their lots are double if not larger in size to allow up to 4 instead of 2. And that's also in this ordinance. That's the last section of the ordinance.
And that's in here?
Yes.
That's in
Section
section
8, that's what covered, they're covered section 8?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And that was reasonable because the size of the property. And as Maria and I pointed out in the study session, someone could have 10 quote recreation vehicles, but if they have them stored inside, we can't be seen. This is what you can see outside on your property from public view. So I thought the request was very reasonable. I checked it out. He's right. So.
Did you have something, Charlie?
Yes, I'm sorry, but I
Can you
didn't turn my hearing aids up where I couldn't hear what he was saying. If I understood what I think he said.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you come to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Got a walker name.
Oh,
That's gonna be a whole lot easier.
you know what? I will bring it to you. I'll just bring it to you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please forgive me, but I forgot my machine to turn my hearing aids up. And I don't like carrying around, I don't like listening to loud noises. But anyway, so what they're saying about the recreational vehicles, if they're out close by the street or whatever, that's a no-no. I agree, definitely. I got a motorhome that's clear back in the back in our yard, and it's licensed, insured, and everything. And you drive by, you have to look pretty hard to see it. Now, I got a boat that sits in front, but it's clear back. So I measured the other day, and it's 33 feet from the front of our boat to the back of the sidewalk, and if you count the curb out, it's almost 40 feet. So what you're saying, if I understood you correctly, that you don't want it out close, which I don't blame you one bit. I agree 100% with that. But if they got them back, and they're licensed and everything, they don't have a bunch of broke windows or anything, I agree with that.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, Troy, but I couldn't hardly hear you. It's
No.
not your fault.
I need to speak into the mic probably.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
So has she gone around the town and, communicate with the people that are in violation of the ordinance, what's happening, or where they're at with the?
We haven't had too many so far.
No.
Like I said, this was something, she's been focusing on vehicles and trailers and RVs on the streets so far, as long as other issues. And when we started talking about this, and I said, well, let's do the study session first, see how the board wants to address it before we strictly enforce it, and that's what's going to happen next. Is the majority of them that I saw yesterday, they're fine with this amended ordinance.
And there was a lot of issue with what you saw with the hard surface, or, you know, how we talked about people parking on the grass and.
There's some places. I mean, I have to say most of the places I saw in Rogers, Old Homestead, and Shoals seem to be okay, but there's some places in Reed and Old Town that need some attention. We'll work with those people.
I know right down, I mean, you know, what I'm talking about, there's one just right down your street at the end of is that within, I mean, it's parked next to their property, and I don't know if that's an easement or whatever, does that fall within this ordinance, or?
This is in the front yard setback. In the side yard setback, as long as it doesn't block the driveway or the sidewalk, it is allowed.
Is that their property still that they're parked on out there?
If it's the same property I'm thinking of, I think so. I have to talk on it. Let me know which one.
Yeah.
And some are still parking just on dirt and grass, and they just need to give an opportunity to correct that.
And as long as they're communicating with you and they work and they need time, as long as you all are working together, it's fine. We're not just gonna go out and hand tickets out.
And Maria's been doing a very good job. I mean, her experience shows. Want to work with people, give them some reasonable time, not forever. But basically, if you have an action plan, we'll work with you. She told me yesterday, this past month in June, she issued roughly 100 notices, had 75% compliance within the 5 to 10 days. About 10% or more she gave extensions for various reasons, you know, whether financial, timing, you know, work issues, whatever. And about 5% of those simply won't comply, they're under the court. But we try. And she explains to them, as I do, that's the last resort, we don't want you to go to court. If you really have a concern about how this code is, please come to this governing body and ask that. Ask for that change, but it really gets that point.
I just wanted to clarify part 3, it crosses out gravel, but then gravel is listed below, so as long as it's a full encompassing gravel pad, that would be okay?
The way the town attorney wrote this is she listed hard service in general and then identified the types of hard service below. She thought that was repetitive, so she just marked it out once and then it's listed because it's asphalt, stone, brick, concrete, gravel, and landscape rock. A lot of what I saw today was landscape rock, a little bit of concrete, but wood chips, no. I've had that argument before. Wood chips is not considered a hard surface.
Also, I love number 4.
Oh, for the,
5 feet.
yeah, I saw your book today too.
Yeah.
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept ordinance 782, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending section 16-3-128 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding storage and parking of recreation vehicle boats and trailers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. C, 2019 street and sidewalk patching bids. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. Mr. Brandon's on vacation this week with his families. Otherwise, he would be here to address this. When these came in before the packet went out, I saw the numbers, talking to David. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't very pleased. I mean, these are very reputable companies. I like working with them, but in my words, they're not hungry. There's a lot of work out there. And I'm not comfortable spending the taxpayers' money on what I feel are bids that are not reasonable based upon what we paid the last couple of years. So my request tonight is to let us rebid this to a wider spectrum of contractors, even some smaller scale contractors. Since last Friday, I was contacted by 2 that we've worked with in the past that asked if they were still allowed to bid. And again, nothing against these gentlemen. We'll be upfront with them. We'll tell them what we're doing.
And they can rebid.
They can rebid or hold their bid, but I think this is a little higher, and this is above our budget, number 1, but it is higher than the numbers this bid list last year. I know it hasn't gone up that much, not working with contractors that I have. So in all fairness, I'd like to hopefully save some money and rebid it out.
No problem there. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. So consensus, rebid. We're good with that, rebid?
Yep.
Okay. All right, moving on to D, 501c3 update, Mr. Rankin.
After forgetting about it for months, you have before you the articles of incorporation, the bylaws to establish your 501c3 that we talked about. Kendra drafted this, and made a few changes. The main change was that the directors, only 3 were listed. I asked Kendra, our town attorney, to list all 7 of you as directors, which is appropriate. I'm the acting agent for you in the 501c3 incorporation. Otherwise, the language is pretty straightforward. You know, the powers as far as this 501c3 corporation is to acquire and purchase contribution gifts, obtain grants, donations, so forth. To generalize, it's a way for, this all came about after I went to a federal grant writing school, and as a town municipality, I cannot apply for foundation grants because those only go to a 501c3 nonprofit. So that's the primary reason. There's not foundation grants out there that, one, for example, there's a foundation that supplies funds to establish Boys and Girls Clubs. which is something I think is strong interest in Platteville. But I can't apply for without this status. And then sometimes during donations and fund drives, during, like, for example, my recent golf tournaments, people would like to have that status, that 501c3 for their tax purposes, which is fine. But with the approval tonight of both of these, the bylaws and the articles of incorporation, Kendra will then submit this to the state and start that paperwork process. But it's pretty straightforward. It's not very complicated. It pretty much follows the rules and regulations you already follow as a board of trustees.
We all need to sign this.
All of you need to sign this. The one section I want to bring up is the bylaws. This is my recommendation. On section 6, officers, selection of officers. I'm assuming the mayor would be president, the mayor pro tem would be vice president, secretary and treasurer. Doesn't really matter to me, but there has to be names listed to those 4 positions as the board of directors. We can do that after the fact, once it's established, but I just wanted to point that out to you.
Is everybody good with, it looks like, in the articles of incorporation, we went by rank and then seniority. Is everybody good with just following that pattern?
So if we did that, then the mayor would be president, Larry would be vice president, Hope Morris would be secretary, Troy Plum would be treasurer, vice majority. At least till next election. Okay. Not for Troy, but for she's turning. Okay. That's just my suggestion. Okay.
So just to be clear, this makes it, kind of unties our hands to, for lack of a better term, solicit donations from private corporations or companies or trusts or foundations for projects within the town.
It opens up the opportunity.
Yeah, private companies can write it off if we can advertise, but foundations and trusts are different. But yeah, private companies can, if there's no advertising, they can't write off a donation unless they were a 501c3.
Okay. Some foundations, they set aside their funds annually to a set group for applicants, which annually reapply. Others are open competitive processes, and those are the ones I want to research and go after the weekend. Of course, I bring those to you before I have to. Okay. That's all I have.
Alright, moving on. Colorado Downtown Streets Workshop and Quick Win Funding Options. Mr. Hinkle.
In your packet, you have the email that was sent to me. Excuse me, from Kate from CDPHE. We're being offered this because we hosted the community builders workshop earlier this spring. And then last week, Kate gave me a follow-up email saying that they had additional funds, so instead of $3,500, they would contribute $5,000. It's a reimbursement grant, so we spend it and submit to them, and they'll reimburse us fully up to $5,000. She gave a list of, it's called Quick Win Funding for your downtown Main Street. Examples of striping and paving, signing, shade trees, bicycle parking, murals and public art benches, flower pots also. So I want to defer to the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee a little bit. Spence, I know you had some ideas on, it's not the full scale, but in the interim, what does the board want to do to use these funds? You can also go toward a kickoff meeting this fall that I want to have once we hire a consultant to do the economic development plan. So some of those funds could go toward funding that and buying, material to advertise and promote the downtown kickoff. So I opened up some ideas. I can get back with her at least by Monday to let her know what we want to do. So just put a white writing and we'll go from there.
I think the kickoff meeting is crucial, and some sort of a pamphlets or advertising, I mean, all that sort of logistical stuff to go with it. And then I can approach the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee at the next meeting and see what they have to say about it.
Okay, when's your next meeting?
Tuesday. A week from today.
A week from today. I'll reach out to Kate and see if she can give me some in next week.
Okay.
This should
Unless
be
you guys just want to commit, I mean, we've talked about doing it.
I was gonna say, would $1,000, because we have five, right?
Right.
So would $1,000 towards planters?
I would think that'd go a long way.
I kinda thought so.
We're only gonna probably get a handful of businesses to participate, honestly.
At least in the beginning.
In the beginning, right. So, if you figure $1,000 for that, do you think that's enough? Or maybe it should be more?
Depends on what you're looking at. When I saw downtown, there's a few businesses, like I think the chiropractor and Shirley Davis, they have the round big flower pots, they were kind of rustic looking.
Yeah.
You
Like
get those at Home Depot for like $50, $75. They
Yeah.
can put the dirt, you do the flowers, the businesses are willing to water them, and Parks, Trails, and Trees puts them in there.
Right.
That at least spruces it up in the interim, make it look nice, bring some color.
We don't really have any benches done on Main Street either. Is there, how much is a bench? Can't imagine a couple.
Depends on what type.
Yeah, depends
Few
on what
hundred
you wanna
dollars?
do.
How much you wanna spend?
Yeah, well, and if you were to put, like if you were to do planters and then put wood in the middle and make a bench out of the planter, then that would be cheaper, it just labor something more.
Right.
It's just that we don't have very wide sidewalks though, so that's, you need to be careful where we place them.
Absolutely. I don't even know there is a place to build. I just thought it was, one of the things they listed as.
Well, something like, between by the Silver Spur, there's that dirt area, maybe put a couple planters in that, between the buildings there.
Right.
Maybe in the parking lot of Tijuana's in that one corner, where people can park there, people drive around, that would be a good spot for a planter.
For sure.
Identify some locations.
Thinking about a bench, I would suggest you find a way to fasten it down
Oh, absolutely.
for a couple of different reasons. Safety and there's.
I think that's a given for sure.
Okay. We usually, we have the drills and the concrete fasteners, we just drill right into the concrete.
What do you think about that?
I,
You're the architect of this plan.
yeah. Just going back to what Larry said, the function does not involve installation, so public works would have to be involved with that, or the tree committee, Parks and Trees committee. I think benches and planters that can be reused once the downtown revitalized makes a lot of sense. We're not throwing away money. So I'd say maybe 2,000 or half of it toward the downtown temporary streetscape, and then the other half toward the kickoff meeting this fall.
Perfect.
That work? Okay. And we can talk offline about what those costs are. The metal benches for the senior center, they were like $300-400. But if you get the wooden ones that kind of match the planters and give it that theme look, I think we can do it for less. Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
Sure. I will let Kate know next week after you guys meet. Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on to reports. Mrs. Torres.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janet Torres. I'm the new Recreation Director, Recreation and Senior Director. I started on June 3rd, so tomorrow will be 1 month that I've been here. I'd like to say very impressed with how much recreation-wise this community has. It's nice to see that the board truly supports recreation for all ages here in the community. I feel like I've been drinking out of the fire hydrant for about a month. I'm ready for someone to attach a hose to it so it can maybe be a little bit more streamlined and then maybe get that down to a drinking fountain. But it's been going good so far. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I've heard great things. Thank you.
So have you been able to see what Reggie and Gordon have been able to do and put your feet on the ground and
I don't know if they're quite on the ground yet.
yeah.
They've done an awful lot. It's like I said, it's very impressive to see in a community this size how much you actually have going on.
So you've been soaking all this in for 30 days now. Have you seen any things that we can improve, or are you gonna
I think there are some things I talked to Troy today for a little bit about, possibly changing how we work with the coaches and everyone maybe not having a key to everything, maybe monitoring that a little bit more, and just maybe relooking at the fee schedule for stuff to make sure that, I can appreciate that as a board and as a community, you've chosen to help subsidize the cost of youth sports and activities to keep the cost lower. But I think at some level you have to look and see are there certain sports that are eating the budget more than others and try and balance it out a little bit. So I think we can look at that. The municipality that I came from was all youth sports was 100% cost recovered. It actually was at 110% cost recovered. So I've always just looked at youth sports a little bit differently. But I think there are some areas where we could maybe balance things out a little bit. I told Troy today I was very impressed with the things that Gordon and Reggie have done to be able to reduce costs. And you guys have a great relationship with your school district, and the ability to be able to use the school is a huge asset, and that helps keep the costs very reasonable. So
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we have the money to build a rec center.
well, yeah, and you know, I mean, it's not always necessary, especially when you have a good relationship with the school and can use it. It benefits both. You know, I mean, the taxpayers pay for that school. They like to be able to use it or see it used all the time. So I feel like it's a win-win situation having that good relationship.
Definitely.
Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Mask?
No.
We love our relationship with our
Good here.
schools.
Yeah.
It wasn't set up that way either.
No.
I'd like to add a couple of things. It's been nice having Jen on board. Really haven't talked to her until the day since she started, because I kind of fed her to Reggie, so to speak. And there was a lot to go over, very much so. Pretty much moved into her new office, still working out some kinks and details over there.
Is your office over at the
Community center,
Community center.
keeping the lights on.
The front foyer is no longer switched. I didn't notice this until we put it in the office. So I never sat in it before, there's nothing in there. But when she's there by herself, it's a motion sensor, and after a few minutes it goes off.
Turns off.
You wave your arm, it goes back on. So I'm gonna change that pretty quick.
Well, especially because the sensor's in the hallway,
Oh.
so it's not even in
You
the
have to go out
office.
of your office and
So-
wave your hand.
Yeah.
One of the seniors yesterday suggested that I get a ball and put it on a string and just fling it out there.
Yeah, we talked about 2.5 hours, and I can't tell me time that light went on and on and on and on.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was just oversight. The office needs to have a switch. The hallway can still be censored, if that makes sense, but just didn't think of it that way. She spent some pretty good time with the seniors. Christy's out leave right now. She'll go to the monthly meeting tomorrow. Where's that at tomorrow?
It's in Pierce.
In Pierce, the great city of Pierce.
Gonna have to look up that one.
That's a long drive north.
Well, we went to Grover once last year. I was just like,
Wow.
is this really Weld County? I thought I was in Wyoming.
But I wanted to point out that this is the first time we in a way combined, not the programs, but the oversight, and with Janet's background with me and overseeing the seniors and the rec. As she indicated, our rec program is much stronger, much more involved, a lot to do with Reggie and Gordon, obviously. And I told Janet today that we still need to have a farewell. We talked to you about offline, we talked to the board, we're definitely going to send them off into
That was on my to-do list.
quasi-retirement. They have a granddaughter, so they'll never retire. I get that.
I can't even imagine those two retiring.
But Reggie, Gordon both been great with Janet, guiding her along. And part of the process is to explain how 20 years of rec has been formed, and then look at, you know, all the great things and things that can be tweaked, some changes. There's always room for improvement, no matter how good you are. And that's when we go into the budget, we'll be talking about some new ideas. Once again, I'll talk to you about that. But otherwise, she's agreed to at first when she started, it's like, why is she always late? You know, cause she's like coming in at 8:15, 8:30, but she stays forever and ever and ever. She never goes home. So I just put your hours down, cause I know you're working like 12 hours a day, so I don't worry about her, so. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. She'll attend
Oh,
and.
there is something else. I would like to say that the seniors, this is probably the nicest group of seniors that I have worked with. Very friendly, very welcoming. Tonight at the meal, we had a group from Fort Lupton. And I know that there are a lot of senior centers that when a new person comes in, you know, it says, that seat's taken. You can't sit here, this is our table. And so they end up sitting by themselves, and actually, you know, that this group does not have that mindset at all. They were very welcoming to the new people and approached them, talked to them, interacted with them, so that was very nice to see. So, and I have to say, with Christy being gone, they are like, they've like really picked up the slack of the meal.
They're go-getters.
So yeah, I went in to help today and they pretty much relegated me. Like,
They won't let you.
yeah, they were like, okay, we got that. So it was very nice.
Good. Fantastic.
Matt, did you have something?
Yeah, I was in Johnstown the other day, and there was a group of older people in there, and you were the topic of discussion.
Oh.
I didn't know any of this had happened. It's pretty funny that I'm sitting here. And the Platteville ones were telling the Johnstown ones how much better it is over here.
Oh,
They
there we
need to
go.
get to know who you are. Yeah, it was quite a conversation that was going on.
Your reputation is moving.
Well, I'd say you're off to a good start.
Well, there we go.
Is there anything we can support you with, help with?
I'm good right now.
Okay.
Just, you know, patience.
Okay.
It's a lot to learn, a lot to take in.
Yes, it is.
And Larry, can you just drop off the golf cart and I'll just use that to shuttle back and forth. So if you can just drop that off for me.
How about the second Tuesday of next week?
Perfect.
You can put that in your budget request for
Exactly.
budget session.
That's it, I'll just put it in the budget. You just give, I just want a replica of
With the lift kit and all?
I don't need the lift kit.
Sound system and.
Sound system.
Sound system.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just added actually part of the sound system to it.
There we go.
Oh, awesome.
Troy, I have a question.
Sure.
When we, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, but when we start looking at the riverfront property and the trails and that sort of stuff, is that, most towns would say that falls under recreation as well, managing that sort of stuff. Is that where we're gonna lean in, you see that, or is it
Yes and
purely
no.
sports? for
Yes and
her,
no.
or-
It depends on the elements of that property. For example, if we have a recommended to a riverfront property, sand volleyball, you know, bad example, just as an example, that could probably fall underneath the rec director's purview, but the maintenance of the property in general would still be public works, under the parks and, not trails and trees, but parks department. And I think most towns, I know in Jet worked for me, she had a lot of help from public works, maintain the fields and this and that, they really didn't have the setup that we do. So that's one thing we're gonna talk about is, the seniors have a part-time coordinator. In recreation, once Gordon retired, Reggie had a part-time coordinator through Gordon. And now they're both gonna be gone. So that's a conversation we're gonna have is both sides of the program need a kind of full-time, part-time coordinator to help the season round. And that person could help with some maintenance issues, done with the ball fields, borrow Larry's golf cart, take it for a spin, stuff like that.
Pursuing all the GOCO grants?
GOCO grants and grant writing. Yep, GOCO workshop just came out today.
Yeah.
I was gonna forward that email on over to,
I think you
Rebecca.
should discuss the Parks, Trails and Trees Committee. It's good to attend how to write those grants.
Yes. I'd also like to see if we could establish a rec plan, in order to get, real meaty GOCO funding and Colorado Parks and Wildlife funding and that sort of stuff that we're gonna be looking for if we do acquire that land, which something we're gonna do, right? And try to develop it into something that people wanna come to. We need to have a plan that we can present to these foundations or the organizations. And though GOCO has grants for those plans. So I would, if we need to have a study session about this, whatever the case may be, I'd like to see if we could pursue getting a plan, getting the funding for a plan and write a plan. And work with the community, work with the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee and also other community champions to get people in and figure out what people want. Because when we had that survey, when I first got elected, I know river access and parks was one of the highest ranking things on the list. So I don't think we'll have much trouble getting support for it, honestly. And to go a step further, at CML they had a couple of rec sessions just specifically focused on rec, and the executive director of GOCO actually gave a presentation at one of them. But there's a couple of towns just that they named off the bat, I'm sure there's more, but like Rifle and Cortez that have passed the sales tax, half a cent or 1 cent sales tax to fund rec projects. I'd like to talk about that at some point too. I think that it would be, if we want to make Platteville into a place where people want to live and want to come and grow, then we need to have things that people want to do and get people outside and get them in community.
I think, you know, like, you're right, a lot of communities do put that additional funding aside, do a ballot initiative to fund, you know, recreation, parks, trails, and trees that are not part of the district per se.
Right.
And a lot of it's about timing. We have an election next spring. So that's something the board will have to discuss with me and Mary to establish that, if that's something that will be a ballot question for the community. But I think my suggestion before that is you talked about that plan.
So you have to have the plan.
You have to have a master plan. Years ago, we had a master plan for the community complex, and that's been built out. Community center, the ball fields. The concept of the master plan that was the unknown was what was going to happen on the west side. Now we have horseshoe pits and mud volleyball pits and a dog park. So that plan is basically done. So we need a community-wide master plan for parks, trails, and trees and recreation. So all the properties, all the parks, and then future parks conversation, whether it be the old property at West Farms along the river or South Platte River Farms, right, over there by Bella Vista.
Or an ambitious goal of connecting both properties through a riverfront trail. Which is, they say at GOCO to have a master plan, like, a simple plan, achievable, and then to have sort of a wish list plan, right? And there's a lot of funding for those types of projects.
Oh, there.
The only thing is getting the landowners to give the easements.
Yeah. In 2011, the town partnered with Milliken to do a trails master plan along the South Platte, from basically County 28 all the way up to Two Rivers. And we spent about a year planning it. At the very end, there's a concept in my office I can give you a copy of. At the very end, it was, you're right, the property owners, not wanting people to trespass on the land with vandalism, litter, and so on and so forth. And that's, it's a legitimate concern. I get that.
So if we could calm those concerns with fencing or something.
Well, we got an example of along the Platte River. It's long property, and it goes from Greeley all the way to Fort Collins now. So, we can present that, look at the example of how this works, and there's no issues. This is what we like to do here with this river as well. So,
and we can partner with so many different organizations, with GOCO, with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. We can even use, they were saying, instead of you don't have matching funding to bring, if you have tradespeople that will bring their trades to the table, they'll count that as funding.
Which there's in-kind
funding, right? So, boy, it seems like if we're really willing to put the legwork in, we could make a big difference. And I'm personally willing to do a lot of that work, as much as I'm allowed to do in my current position.
Well, we're set pretty well as far as connecting to the river, because since we annexed 3.5, out to 21, we have that right-of-way acquisition, so we can put a trail next down to the river from the edge of Rogers Farm, basically, where the sewer lagoon is, and tie the community down to that area. But then, and I'm waiting on a response back from the new landowners from several meetings we've had with them. They're talking inside their internal corporation on the proposal I made to them based upon what I talked to the board before about everything from water storage to reconstruction 3.5 to fishing pond to river trail access directly to the river.
Well, maybe we can at least start it, you know, and get the piece to get down to the river like that, if we get the approval of the landowners and show them what we're doing. And then people can at least ride down to the bridge and then come back or whatever, but it's better than just ride around downtown here, so kind of shows that we're moving in that direction.
Right. I agree. And, you know, there's so many ideas I have, like Longmont just installed, I'm sure you guys have heard about it, but they dug out the whole river and they put in like this little whitewater park for tubes and stuff like that. And obviously that's in the wish list plan, right? But it would be something that would bring people from neighboring communities to Platteville and spend money at our local businesses that we're gonna try and develop in our downtown. You know, a lot of the towns are making a lot of money off their recreation departments, you know. I'm not saying Platteville's ever gonna be necessarily a destination, you know, and maybe we don't want that necessarily, but some of that we do because we want our businesses in our town to thrive, right? And that's what it's gonna take to do that, in my opinion.
Quality of life amenities for all areas of the community. One last thing is, with Krista being out, I had a request yesterday during the Monday meal. Some were upset that their bi-weekly Blackhawk trip was not gonna happen next Thursday, so after talking to the boss, I'm gonna drive the van next Thursday. I've never been there.
You've never been?
Never been to Blackhawk. I don't get it. So, I'll
Going
drive
up there alone is one.
I heard they have a good buffet, so I'm up there to eat while they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
They give you free money up there too, man.
You know, the guy who manages the biggest poker room in the state of Colorado, the Harvest Daze, you probably hook you up some. He's a personal relation of mine. Number 2 son.
yeah. Well, sadly enough, I've been to Vegas twice, and I have not spent a dime. My wife spends it all for me. Sounds good.
That's a good arrangement.
Very good arrangement for her. So, back on topic. Anyway.
Okay, anything else to add to Janet's report? Okay.
Welcome, Jenna.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Mr. Rankin.
The written report I covered a wide variety of topics. One thing included in my report is that PVC toured bike, if anyone's interested, those oil and gas field operation tours, they want to help educate, and it's an on-site tour of their facilities.
Those are really good.
They're very informative. The 3 dates for you to attend is September 8th, October 2nd, October 16th. So the invite was sent out to the mayor and I'll be waiting to respond back to Mr. David Coleman from PDC Energy. He's our senior community relations manager.
I wanna do that for sure.
So if you want to think about it, then sometime next week, just give me a date that works with your schedule. I can
I
coordinate that.
actually tried to reach out to that representative, but to see if I didn't get a response from her.
He's the one that oversees her, so. So, let me know. I've been on one with Anna Dark years and years ago. It is very informative. Get a better understanding of what they do out there. And talked about a variety of things that our new deputy clerk starts next Monday. This week was yesterday was the most nervous day in the front office for months and months because they kicked off the utility building with the assist software program. And I'm going to turn over to Mary for just a minute to kind of summarize the more gray hair that's happened in the last 24 hours. I'm just kidding. Mary, you want to update the board on the program?
Yeah, the first well, a couple of hurdles. Utility billing and cash handling. The utility billing went off without a snag. It was much better than I had anticipated. We had the bills calculated, printed, and stuffed by noon, maybe 12:30, which is the same as if we were doing it in Cassell. They all went out. We have our merchant account set up. We're taking credit card payments. It's a different process than we had before, so people are confused. But I'm trying to get all of the details. There's an option where people can have a link to go in and set up their own payment. But I'm waiting for the company to send us that literature so that we don't misdirect anybody. And then we'll update the web page. We've taken the express bill pay page down. So hopefully people can't get in there and still send payments. After this, probably the next challenge will be payables next week. We have the new bank set up. We're close to having the cash account set up at the local bank. The only thing that we're waiting for then after that will be, we have to get a custom program string written for Assist to calculate para correctly with all the changes in legislation for para. Some benefits are now counted as para includable income, even though it's not exactly income, but retirement will be deducted from that for certain employees, depending on when they start, and then for employees that have been members of para longer, it won't be deducted, and there's just not really anything out there that has that kind of calculation feature built in. So they're creating that for us on a custom level, and we'll have that in. It'll take a few more weeks. But we're gonna start the next payroll. Will go out on the 19th, and that will be done in Assist, even though it won't quite be correct. It's not correct in Cassell either, so might as well bite the bullet and just get on with it. And that'll be the last step, and then we'll be home free, sort of, I think. But so far, it's easy to use. It's just different. Learning different takes a minute. So far, so good.
Okay.
Tell us what you think when you get your bill.
It went down.
I don't know. It looks very different. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot smaller font, which I think we might get some pushback from, but that is something out of our control. So I imagine there are some seniors that are gonna be calling us. But we've asked them, and that's not something they can change. So, because some of the description lines are so long, it would knock the values off the side of the page, and that's kind of the important part.
So to go along with that, David Green was in yesterday, worked with Mary and Devin, mostly Mary and Devin, on the financial side of the transition. Because he, of course, needs access. We're in this transition time where part of our money is going to, for the rest of the year, will be in First National Bank, and a large part of it will be moved to Bank of Colorado. We're working on a way, not only working on a way, but we're going to transfer, as of yesterday's conversation with David Green, we have a fund balance of around 1.8 million in our checking account. So with Dave and I talked about is moving $1 million over to Bank Colorado, sitting that account and leaving $300,000 in First National Bank, just to clear checks as they go out for the next few months. You always want to do that. The other $500,000 on the Bank Colorado Trust, and as the money builds up, keep a minimum threshold. I put as much back as I can into our savings account to gain interest, and that will bring it up to over $1.5 million, just the Colorado Trust general fund, not putting all the other funds that we have. So the financials are doing pretty well. We still have a big sidewalk and patching expenditure that'll come up probably on the 16th or about the 1st of August, hopefully the 16th. But otherwise, those are the majority of our big projects for the year, so I feel pretty comfortable about the budget part. But I may, depending on how things transition, may have David Green come and just report to the board on his aspect of how he's looking at stuff. I also went down this past week and met with Isaac, the manager down at Community Banks, and submitted a request for an application to open a small account there. So we have a local bank that we can put deposits in, get petty cash out of, so we don't have to drive out of town. And then when that builds up to a certain volume of funds, then we'll transfer it to our main account in the Bank of Colorado. So all that's in transition right now. It's paperwork and waiting. So
All positive, for the most part?
matter of perspective, yeah. It will be at the end of the day. It's just transitions are not always fun to deal with.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be confusing. That's why I rely on others that know more than I do. Like pretend. One last thing before you have any questions is Al Irmer with Excel last Friday contacted me and said that the design's complete for the undergrounding on Main Street. Due to new procedures and protocol, he's waiting until after the 4th of July to give the report designed to his manager on how to handle the town's 1% fund. Policies have changed. He said my design costing will be given to our contractors who will do the bids on them, and when he bid will then do the construction. The town will be billed on actual construction costs when it's complete. We will use our undergrounding funds. His general estimate right now is $190,000. Our undergrounding fund has close to $375,000 in it. But he said his costs and the actual construction costs are off usually about 20 to 30%. So you look at about $250,000. So it'll take up the majority, but not all of our undergrounding fund. That does not include two things. Number one, the CenturyLink line that goes on the same poles, that's going to be our own cost to deal with. That we can't use undergrounding funds to do that undergrounding for that line. We have to work directly with CenturyLink. And number two, direct service connections to businesses that have to be changed differently than they are now are our costs. So I won't know those numbers until his manager sees the report, he gives it back to me and I'll present it to the board. But at least we know a ballpark number, and it's at least close. Of course, he profusely apologized. He said, you can't imagine, this has been a 1.5 year proposal project, and we're not paying Excel to do this design, but large construction companies and subdivisions and so on and so forth, they do. So
How many blocks of downtown is that from Main Street?
it will be basically 4 alleys from Grand Avenue to the alley past Goodrich and the Crack Day. So it's the main, what I consider the main 4 blocks of the old downtown business district. So, and then as the funds build up, of course, there's another 5, 6 alleys that we need to do on Main Street. But to focus on the downtown quote streetscape improvement, the revitalization, that's the main area to focus on right now. So, but I wanted to add that because that came out to me after I sent my report up to the board.
Troy, I got something for you. I did hear you talk about Elizabeth Nolan that you met at the conference, and you were talking about the 67-acre parcel north. Is that just north of 32, or they got a pretty big site up there that you see off of 85? Are they planning on pushing that west of that, those tanks and stuff to?
There's a site on 32.5, as you leave Schultz going to the sewer lagoon. There's the old farmhouse and that 10-acre parcel between the sewer lagoon and Schultz. The property's directly north of that across the road, all the way to County Road 34.
Right.
And that's a 57-acre parcel that when I met at CML, Elizabeth Knowles, one of the attorneys, that they're pursuing the purchase of that 57 acres. And they knew from a previous meeting I had with her and her associate that that's directly within the town's urban growth boundary, and an extremely high interest to the growth of our community. Right now, their pad site is right in the middle. And I said that won't work, not acceptable. Their proposed pad site said that just won't work. Like I have any teeth in the game, but I just said that's not gonna work because we can't build anything.
And that's county,
It's all county.
so if county proved it, we wouldn't have any say in.
I just told her that I would recommend the board strong opposition to that drilling site because of the impact. So then we continued the conversation. She said it's very possible we could move it further north, open up maybe 20 to 30 acres of the southern part for future development, maybe subdivide it for the town's benefit. I said that is something we could talk about. So, and it's going on everywhere. I saw their map for the general area within 5 miles of Platteville, and it's astronomical.
So, you know, down here by Fort Lupton, was that 18 or 20, they got that huge pad site with all those, it's gonna be a big tank site, tank battery site.
Right
Is
there,
that
14.5 at the North Station too.
Is that what they're gonna look at doing out here? Is
I
it
don't-
that big of a site?
She didn't get into details with me. There's just a large red square, which is what their map shows. She didn't know how many wells, on how many tank batteries would be.
The development is going in that direction, though.
Who's the player? Is this Anadarko or
Their technology is advanced in such a way now that they're drilling approximately 18 wells per pad.
Yeah, because they go different directions.
Covering instead of 1 square mile radius, they're covering a 4 square mile radius from one pad. So yeah, the operations unfortunately are much larger when they get there.
She did mention it'd probably be likely over a dozen wells on that site.
But we have some skin in the game because we share a border with this, as far as how I read that recent legislation, because we share a border with the proposed.
And we would have a referral response, you're exactly right. The other sites that they have another pad site, near 30 and 85 on the east side, on the other side of 2 ditches. That wasn't as concerning because we can't service that property. That's not really a residential growth area. They have one down the floodplain, along the South Platte north of town. We have a strict policy, we don't build in floodplain. Unlike some communities, we just build in everything from the Farmers Independent ditch pretty much up to the bluffs at West Farms by 21, that's all floodplain.
In the event of a massive flood, it wouldn't necessarily be prudent to have oil and gas operations in floodplain. You know what I mean? On a day-to-day basis it's fine, but if you get that 1,000-year flood, that's the reason it's in a floodplain.
So how far down the road is that? Are they looking?
Pretty quick. Probably in the next few weeks or a month, I get a response from Elizabeth.
No kidding. Wow.
And she actually called me Monday after I got back from CML, just a follow-up conversation. We bounced out some ideas on what, because they don't want to ruin the relationship we have, or they have with us.
They wanna work with us,
But I said, you know, within reason, we have specific areas of our future growth that when this town does grow,
Yeah, we don't have no direction.
or all of our water comes in from the north, our sewer systems on the north end of town. So practically speaking, any developer would save a ton of cost by developing up there in that area because of the close proximity of those 2 main service lines, those utilities. And they understand that completely. So that's why I had a coffee meeting with her there Wednesday morning, Thursday morning at CML, and we had a good conversation. So I'll keep the board informed as we go along.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, there was, I sat in that oil and gas, meeting up there, and and some of the committees we're talking about, and the new director for, the COGCC was there and talked about community input and stuff, and they want community input on these, before they approve these well sites and stuff like that, so. Sounds like, he's very open-minded about a lot of the stuff, and, yeah. And, you know, they got a bunch of people and some technologies and stuff like Longwell's talking about some of the technologies that they're using to show what is the effects of the deaths of the community and stuff like that. So he's wanting all that data to come to him so he can have his team look at the information and see what's going on and make that decision on approving these sites that they make sense. So it was a pretty good meeting that I sat in with that, and it was very you know, it's like in here where we talked about that Senate bill. You know, it's pretty emotional and
Sure.
on both sides. So.
It's part of that same conversation with Ms. Knowles is the tract we just bought on the south side of the energy park, and they did confirm those 3 wells that will be P&A plugged and abandoned in the probably next year, which opened up would get rid of those setback requirements on the southwest or the southeast side, open up another lot for development potentially, and that's positive. And I kind of pushed that into this discussion as a incentive, and it seemed to work. They want to keep certain access rights, and I said, your access rights are off division, not Main Street, so it doesn't bother me. You keep your access rights, just stay away from Main Street, leave that land alone. And they're willing to do that. So, the pilot study for the new wastewater treatment, Grossman Technology was submitted to CDPHE. I received the report along with David. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but we finished reviewing that, and I'll get that part of the board in this next packet. And it's a waiting game.
So we're just waiting for the state to approve it tonight.
We're very optimistic that the state will approve the pilot study, and in conjunction with that, we're submitting, or JBA is submitting on our behalf a request to extend our compliance schedule back a year so we can do the study. And with the high hopes that the actual construction of this facility will essentially be about the same as a mechanical plant, but the O&M operation maintenance costs will be significantly less. Let's say a lot of long-term debt obligation. Well, my hope is we could maybe not increase any more sewer base rate fees until we know for sure what's going to happen. And that's my hope, my best case scenario. And once this gets approved, we'll have to reevaluate, do a utility plan again, update it with technology to see what those numbers will be. And my hopes is that the increase we did this last year will be hopefully the last major increase we ever have to do on this project. That's my hope. I can't guarantee anything.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
On the same vein of the wastewater, I brought this up to David about a month ago, and I talked about this with Larry a little bit. I want to try and get you guys' heads wrapped around this idea. When I was at a waste recovery plant in Salt Lake City about a month ago, I was speaking with a high-level gentleman out of Iowa who knew of this technology and dealt with sewer lagoons. He was a plant manager for sewer lagoons in Iowa. He suggested that when we do this pilot, and if we install this, that we what he called side stream. So we still use our lagoons, and then we run a percentage of the inflow through the RAB system, and then we bring it back into the lagoon at the end, and whatever percentage we run through, we'll obviously test it and make sure that it's enough adequate. Then we'll lower our levels enough so instead of needing 8 RABs to treat all of our waste, we could potentially go down to 4 or a smaller percentage and still achieve the permit level.
By putting it through twice. Is that
No, so you put like half of your stuff through the RABs and put half of it through how we're doing it already. But the end result with the testing, so ultimately we just have to meet the permit, right? Is a good test.
Well, don't we have to have a percentage of growth with the two though? If we have growth, and then gotta account for that.
The growth is
Like the
not part of the equation.
Because did they talk about capacity?
But we would have that because we could add additional RABs and stuff. It's still a modular unit, so if we
Right.
do grow, we just buy 2 more RAVs and then our capacity grows that way.
It's an expandable system, you're right. Part of the, from what I read so far, the pilot program, is they will install 1 RAP unit. And it stands for something algae, whatever, you know, so it's called RAP.
Rotating algae bioreactor.
There you go. You remember that better than I do.
It's my
But
baby, I should.
What they do is they take part of our wastewater, they do run it through the RAP system, then they discharge it back into the lagoon, and then they create like normal, just like you said. But based upon their analysis and our flow and our limits that we have to meet, they still predict we'll need at least 8. But we won't know until we do the pilot program.
And I actually called Dr. Wen about this, Dr. Gross about this as well, and spoke with him, and he, you know, nobody wants to think it's a good idea because it doesn't sound pretty, and I admit it doesn't, but if we owe it to the taxpayers to try to spend their money wisely, right? And if the goal is to meet the permit that the state puts forward, then that's all we have to do, right? We don't necessarily have to go above and beyond that permit.
Where we have to look at the future as well.
Absolutely, and that's where I think that's where we get the expanded.
Yeah, build the
If we get
system.
if we get a discount rate to do what their engineers are saying, then I think we should go with it, what the recommendations are.
I'll tell you what, an algae-based treatment system is a lot cheaper than a bunch of turbines and electricity.
Absolutely.
I mean, the whole system runs off with a 10 horsepower motor,
Or 4 horsepower motor per unit.
Something like
Said
that.
originally, yeah.
so it's,
Up to,
I'm optimistic. I mean, I'll keep you updated as we go, but,
cool.
I don't foresee any response back in probably until maybe August, July, I don't know, or August, September, I mean. But it usually takes 30 to 60 days, so. Because they've been in communication so much with CDPG already in the last 6 months, that's not new to them, but they still have to analyze and give an official stamp of approval. So we're hoping. And I sent that Everbridge last night, and I talked about that, about the fireworks. The water coming out of Central over by Larry. It's not Larry's property, but it's ditch water. It's an old conduit that somehow the water's getting back in, and we're working with the dairy, the ditch company to get it plugged up. So.
It's not cool to like put a pump in the gutter.
Well, I was, if I'd known when the water was running, I'd go down and put it through my yard.
Yeah.
I'm right there on the intersection, and save those people that want their little planter from getting washed out.
Yeah.
It's coming up right along the side of the sidewalk.
The driveway. Yes.
Yeah, so you're involved, but, no, well, yeah.
Well, yeah, you
because
used to
I
be the water
haven't
guy.
dammed it up.
Yeah.
Put a gate in there to divert the water the other side.
Well, it's river water that's going right back to the river eventually through our stormwater system.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all I have.
Okay.
It's still
Any
good
questions?
all over my yard.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. The emergency plan and the certain committees or, whatever it was, I forget the name that Mr. Kirkmeyer, cited in that meeting we had a few months ago.
The COG, continuity.
The COG, yeah.
Continuity.
Where are we at with our COG?
It wasn't a public document, so I got a hold of Roy Rudisell, sent it to me. I just haven't had time to work on that. It'll be a false winter project. That's something I want the board to adopt, and we'll practice that annually.
Things would be for just the changing weather that we seem to be having.
Sure.
I think that's all I have for you, Troy.
I don't have anything for the board. Committees? Any updates at all?
Not a whole lot. The dog park, Parks, Trails and Trees, Jason has the GoFundMe page now for the dog park. So we're going to try and pursue helping him get funding with that, whatever we can do to help with that. Obviously, we're going to bring the Main Street concrete funding that we discussed this evening to the committee. Also, Ms. Torres, if you would like to join us sometime for our meeting, that would be awesome.
Okay, when do you meet?
We meet on the second Tuesday of every month. So I don't, yeah, 6:30. I don't expect you to be there this month necessarily, but sometime we'd love to have you. It's an honored guest. And Troy, you committed to come to the meeting as well next week.
You want to come next Tuesday?
If that's okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna join you via speakerphone.
Okay.
That's all right, I love that. One thing that they stressed at CML that I really thought was good, was finding ways to attract people to meetings and getting public input. It's something I've resisted a little bit, but I think it's important. So one thing they suggest is like offering food to everyone, and they're not trying to put you out there, we don't have like a budget for catering or something, but I think you get more people in the door if you did that, especially for a study session type atmosphere. Maybe not for a more of a formal board meeting, but we're trying to get community involvement.
That's generally what we practiced when we did our comp plan. We made sure that we had food, whether it's a bunch of pizza or hot dogs and hamburgers.
Right. Finding ways to make it fun and enjoyable, and
So feeding them and going to them is how we get public involvement.
that's all I have.
I'm making the vow. That was